You're listening to the Breezy Moms podcast on Digital Stream Radio.
Hey guys, today my friend Anna joins us to talk about money and how she learned about the stock market at the same time she found out there was no Santa. So stick around.
Hey everyone, you're listening to the Breezy Moms podcast, a weekly show that chronicles the adventures of motherhood. I'm Candace. Now let's start the show.
Hey guys.
Hey, hey, hey.
How are you?
I'm wonderful, Miss Candace. How are you?
I'm good.
Lord have mercy. Did we have some technical issues?
We did, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We're rolling right through it.
We're blaming
right through it.
Trish. Yeah, our soundboard sort of kind of like had no juice, and we were like trying to let it charge, and you know how that goes. But anyways,
it's fixed now, so I'm happy.
Thursday.
It is Thursday.
The Breezy Moms podcast
is here
on live. And in color.
And we're streaming live on, are we streaming live on Facebook?
We're streaming live on Facebook and Digital Stream Radio.
All the places, right?
That's right.
So I'm excited to be here. I'm going to try to remember to look at the thing, although I can't promise.
That's important.
I know. I'm going to try. Well, I've got my notes in front of me, so maybe I'll move them this way so you can see.
Yeah.
But I'm super excited. And so I don't know if you know that I've been sick the whole week. I think I started being sick last week.
You and I both.
And
maybe I gave it to you.
Probably. And I've been losing, my voice has been coming in and out or whatever. And this was the first time that I've needed the voice. And I feel like I just garbled some of those words. So apologies ahead of time if I trip or stumble on some of these words, because the sound is just not coming out as reliably as it has in the past.
Well, you know how we always say on the show, we don't stumble words. We don't do none of that. It's just that our mouths are extra juicy.
Juicy.
That's all. And so, you have all these extra, syllables in our mouths, and it just...
What did you call it? Speaking in cursive?
Well, that's when we are speaking drunk. We're not drunk. We're
I'm
speaking...
drinking water tonight.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
She brought me a bottle of champagne, I think it was, and it's
a beer.
It's a beer, and it's a Game of Thrones, sigil right in the front. And I was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed. And it finally came back, so I'm super happy.
But I'm glad to be, because I'm already juicy mouth, so I don't need any extra buzzing going on. So I'm drinking water tonight.
That's awesome. So we have a good show today. Got a lot that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, I'm super excited. My friend Anna is here.
That's
like
right.
I said,
we have a guest.
Yeah, so she'll be joining us in a little while. We're going to talk about money and the stock market and how to get started if you don't know about it. It actually is. Actually, April is Financial Literacy Month, which I just learned about. This might be the first time I've noticed it, but I've been listening to a lot of different financial experts. Dave Ramsey is the one that I have been listening to for the last probably 10 years, but he's not the only one. Dave Ramsey, and then what's the name of the woman with the
Susie Orman?
Susie Orman. So she's the other one, but she's wild. So I can
I like her energy.
I know
though.
her energy is on 95,000 all the time, and I can't always handle that. And then Dave Ramsey's energy is always like, dude, I don't have time to handle stupid. Either you get it or you don't, right? And sometimes you need somewhere in between. And I've actually found a lot of really cool people. The one I'm listening to right now is Patrice Washington, who's the money maven. And she has a really interesting backstory, and her stuff is easy to digest in nuggets. So I have been learning a lot in the last couple weeks, and it is super timely because Anna is going to be on this week. She was actually supposed to be on several weeks ago.
And it's also April. And if you're listening today...
Oh, taxes
were due on April 15th.
On Monday.
That's right.
So I hope you got your taxes. So one, I hope you did your taxes or your extension, which I only now learned about taxes extensions.
You can actually ask for one.
Yeah, I didn't know that. And it's 6 months of extension. Although it's the extension to do the forms, it's not the extension on your bill that's due. So if you owe money, you still have to do that up front. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
How are you feeling?
Thank you. I'm feeling good. Well, I was a little sick, and I have been, I've been having these issues with allergies, and everything is starting to sprout now. So it's like, It's like
Yeah,
death.
it's usually May 1st, but it feels like it came a lot sooner in
all my
April.
trees are blooming in the back,
Yeah,
and
'cause it was
flowers
warm
are
a few days.
Yeah. So I'm super excited, and I turned 40.
Ooh.
And so it was the big 4-0. I have cupcakes from Julia still sitting in my refrigerator upstairs.
Nice.
And no, it was wonderful. I've had dinner with friends. Friends came over. We had drinks. I can't tell you how much cake I've eaten in the past week and a half. Cake at work, cake at my other job at the bar. I
need to have some birthday salads.
Right? I need something for all this.
Let's make that a thing.
But no, all is well, and it's another year, another dollar, and that's how I look at it. So, but I do have a question for you.
I'm listening.
Because we need to get started. How are your boys?
The boys are great. So today, we spent the day at the Connecticut Science Museum, which I just realized that I've been there for events, but I've never been there as a patron, a visitor of the museum. And this week is spring break, so school is closed, but daycare is open. And then out of nowhere, nobody came today. So we had a bonus free day today. And so we packed up in the car and went right to the museum, because it's far enough away that I really need to make a day of it. It's not easy enough for me to just run there. It's about 40 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
And so that feels like we need to actually be there for the whole day.
So let me ask you. So you had a free day. No one came to daycare today.
Uh-huh.
Do you still get paid for that?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like a little paid vacation.
It is a paid vacation. Yeah.
Nice.
So, so for daycare, you pay, and most parents who use daycare know this. It's like once you start paying for daycare, you pay for daycare until your kid graduates out, right?
Yeah.
Because it would be really, I actually appreciate it, not just as a professional now, but for the profession, it is a way to really increase the standard, right, of the profession, that we're not babysitters. We're not pay as you go kind of thing. It's a spot that you're holding, and if you're not using it, we can fill it with someone else. So you basically pay for your spot. And that's not because we don't like you, we don't appreciate you or whatever, but it's a way to manage everybody managing their finances, right?
And finances and expectations as well.
Expectations, yeah, especially because if you just decide today you're going to keep your kid, or you woke up late and you don't feel like bringing them, that shouldn't have an effect on my bottom line when I'm trying to run a business, because it's not, family childcare is not like babysitting where it's just, oh, today I need it. It's like an agreement. It's a contract that you make with someone. So you pay for your spot. And whether you're here or not, you're paying for your spot, just like you would in school. If you were paying for school, you don't dock tuition because you didn't go on Tuesday.
Gotcha.
And for your rent for your house, you don't dock your rent because you went to Costa Rica for 3 days, right?
Well, shit, I wish I could.
You do wish you could, but you can't.
That would be nice.
But you can't.
I'm going to Florida for 4 days.
Exactly.
Deduct 4 days worth of my
exactly
of my mortgage off of
right.
the,
but your stuff
top.
are still in the house.
That's right.
We didn't let anybody go stay in your house as an Airbnb, right? We didn't. It's still your spot. So it's how I've learned, in the business, and when I was sending my kids to daycare, it is how I've learned to appreciate childcare as a business, as a profession, to make sure that you're not treating it as just like a throwaway thing.
Nice.
Because they're your kids, and you want to make sure that that everything is all set, right? And when you wake up and you're ready to go, that they're going to be there and nobody else is going to be in your spot. So
fantastic.
Anyway, that was a long answer for it was a paid holiday.
So it was a paid holiday.
What it was.
So you took a little field trip today with the boys.
Field trip with I took a field trip with my boys, and we packed up in the car, and it took us about 40 minutes to get there, and then it was about an hour to get, maybe a little more with traffic coming out of Hartford. Mm-hmm. But it was nice, and I was worried for a second because we didn't get there until noon, but I think we were there for about 3.5 hours, and that really was about as much as I could handle, and even that the kids could handle. And Emery didn't nap beforehand, so right at the 3:30 mark, he really needed to just sit still and go to sleep.
Yeah.
And the ride home was enough. I think we'll be okay tonight, because usually if you start a nap too late, then you're screwed for bedtime. But the nap might have been an hour and 15 minutes, which was just enough to give him a recharge, but not like he didn't get the 2 or 3 hours that he would like, which would have screwed us for the night. So.
Gotcha.
So it was really cool. And I think that they had the Science Museum is one of those like a hands-on touchy kind of museum. And it was pretty cool. And I didn't realize that they have have you ever been to the body exhibit?
No.
So I think it's a traveling exhibit. I first saw it at the Boston Museum of Science, I don't know, 15 years ago or whatever. And it's just everywhere. And they're real cadavers that have been donated to science. And then they just, I don't peel them away, open them up, slice them in all kinds of different ways. But it's a way to look at the actual human body it looks like a mannequin, but it's a real person.
So do they know who these individuals are? Or
they probably do, but we don't. It doesn't say Carol on the thing. It actually says,
darn it. Oh, phooey, Carol.
It actually says specimen. And I was thinking today about that a little bit because I kept saying to Lincoln as a real specific reason for why we shouldn't touch these things. You don't touch in the museum anyway, but this really, this is somebody who donated their body to science so that we could learn about it. But that's a real body, so don't touch it.
Yeah.
But all of where I was going with that was that all the little signages next to them, they say this specimen. And so I think it's really interesting that when, I don't know what the details are, but I saw specimen. I've heard people say cadaver, that's a person that was Carol. But once Carol dies and gets donated to science, then she's
like a John Doe at this point. So yeah,
you know what I mean. And I think it's an interesting but also weird way to distance ourselves from the reality that this was a real person.
I'll tell you one thing: I would not want to be just a specimen. I want people to know you are you are looking at Tom Ortiz. Mm-hmm. Podcaster, crazy man. I want you to know who you're looking at.
That's true. I know it's an interesting way that we manage culturally how we think about people as a whole, and then I guess after I don't know, it feels weird. I'm managing it right now in real time, and I don't have a real feeling about it. But when you don't donate your body to science, you still are you, and you're in the cemetery, and people go and visit you, and it could be
you have an identity.
You have an identity. Yeah. But then when you do donate your body to science or something like that, then you get separated from that a little bit, and you just become a cadaver. You just become this
person,
innate thing.
John Doe.
Yeah, but not John Doe. No, it's not John Doe.
Because,
it's specimen.
For the world,
cadaver.
For the world, you're unidentified, right? But for the people who had to catalog the specimen, they may know.
And to be fair, they all look the same. So there's no skin on it. There's no you can't even really see the features. So I don't even know that if I knew I donated a family member and then I went to this thing, that I'd be able to pick out that family member. Gotcha. You know what I mean? So they have removed a lot of the identifying parts of this person, but they're no longer calling them a person. It's a specimen. It's an interesting
concept.
Yeah, it feels a little existential. I don't know.
I definitely want people to know who I am. I don't want to be buried. I know that much. Mm-hmm. But I want to be ashes somewhere in someone's necklace and in an urn somewhere. But I want to have a name.
Yeah.
I want to know at some point that I've existed.
I know. I've thought a long time about it. I think for a long time I wanted to be a tree, right? So I wanted to be cremated and then buried in a tree. But then I started to be worried that they would mow down the tree to build a house or something.
Well, then you would become the house.
Right.
So, and then, eventually you end up, somewhere else.
Yeah.
They come and bulldozer the house down and you end up in a landfill. So you hang around with the garbage for a couple of years and then you become something else.
It's so weird.
You might become recycled wood. Who knows? Lord have mercy.
But I think about, I think about being somewhere forever in a place that the thing with the tree, I wanted to be in nature, right? Not in a cemetery. And I feel sometimes I think I have an interesting, feeling or connection about physical spaces. only now have in this house that we live in. This is the longest I've ever lived in a single place.
Yeah.
I used to move every year, so I'm a vagabond. Like I don't care about spaces because I'm always in a different space.
You're like a little gypsy.
Yeah. So I don't feel this need to be in a cemetery where people are always going to come back to. I actually feel like I'll be forgotten there because all my people will move away. You know what I mean? But that's not what I intended to talk about tonight
At all.
But it's still it's interesting when something triggers sort of like a even if it's a sidebar thought, it makes you think about what you think about.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So the boys are good. It sounds like they had a good time. I was asking them a little bit about it. They have this really cool butterfly exhibit where the butterflies are like, you walk into this room and they're free, like you've walked into their enclosement. So they're all over the place, and which is different from other butterfly exhibits where you look at them behind a glass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you get to walk in, they're flying all over you. Do they land on you and all that stuff?
If you're careful, like if you're not abrasive, which Emery is, right? Like it's just, they said if you're quiet and still, they might land on you because they might think you're a tree or whatever. But Emery was like, Mom, look at the butterfly. He's like rolling around on the floor.
Lord have mercy. That's
it was a whole
funny.
thing. Don't touch the leaves. You mean this one, as he has it in his hand? It's like, sorry, guys, we have to leave.
Lord have mercy. Well, I mean, they're kids, and kids will be kids.
Yeah.
You know, you tell a kid not to do something, he does it with more ferocity.
Yes.
You know, so
yes.
that's just the way it is.
So they're good. They're good. And every day, especially the little one, right? Because he's only 2.5. He's more verbal every day and more. So today when I was leaving to come here, he says, Mommy, I'm so strong. And he opened the refrigerator.
Huh.
And it's like I think we take for granted the things that we do, but the suction on the refrigerator is serious.
It's serious, yeah.
And he was like, I'm so strong. And he opened up the fucking refrigerator. And we were just like, crap. Now we have to like think about whether the refrigerator door has been closed and just yesterday.
Can you put one of those door locks on it?
You can. I'm gonna think about if I want to do that. But yesterday I came into the kitchen and the bag of rice, the like cooked rice, I had some leftover rice, had been taken out of the refrigerator and put on the table. And he looks at me and he goes, Mom, I want rice. I was like, I'm not ready.
Well, maybe you can grab one of these.
Stop it. We're not going to be sound training my kids.
They can't hear this. I don't want to press it because, my babies are in bed. But
that's true.
Yeah, so.
Although I guess I do sound train them with my own voice.
Yeah. This is a story for another time.
Yes.
So,
but it's better than the shock. I thought you were shocking the dogs. At least you were just
No. They don't have a shock collar on them. It's just
a noise.
It's a story for another time.
Okay.
So we are on Facebook Live, right?
Yes,
so
we are. Thank you. If
hello,
you're
everyone on
watching.
Facebook. Thank you for joining us. Give us a shout out on Facebook Live. If you are watching the video, let us know that you're there. We're going to definitely have a guest, and if you guys want to ask questions, you can do so as well. And then just post them on the Facebook, and we'll go ahead and answer them on the show.
Yeah, and before I think this is a good transition to Q and our guest. But before I do that, I was just looking for the Facebook Live so I could share it on. Is it on the Breezy Moms podcast?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay, hold on.
It's live.
In live.
Live and in color.
Live and in color.
So what
timeline.
happened? So much happened while you're looking at that. The craziness is happening on the news. Churches are being burnt down.
I don't even want to talk about that right now because it's going to distract me. I want to talk about it at the end, though.
Yeah, the Mueller report came out, the heavily redacted report. So much craziness.
All right, so let's save that for the end, or else we'll never get to Anna.
I was just trying to fill
yes,
in
I do.
the blank air over here.
All right, I appreciate it.
Go ahead, go for it.
Okay, so I'm ready. You ready to intro Anna?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, here we go. So, guys, today our guest is a longtime friend of mine who I admire for many reasons, the least of which is her money savvy. We met over 20 years ago in high school. She then got a BA, bought a house, married a cool dude, moved to the burbs, works for President Obama, is a boy mom like me, is finishing her master's, and has the first electric car I've ever been in. And you know I love electric cars, right?
You sure do.
I do. I'm out of breath, and that's not even everything. She's an incredible woman, and to know her is to love her. Anna, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us tonight.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh my God. So I've been trying to get you on the show for months, and I said earlier that it just like worked out that we are in April in Financial Literacy Month.
That's right.
And when I think about like people that I know who are good with money and like know about money, you're always at the top of my list. So I really wanted you to come on and talk to me a little bit about as an intro. For people who might be afraid of the stock market or afraid, just like not know, right? So that we could kind of go through talking a little bit about money so that it's not so scary. Because it's either you have a lot of money and you're like weird about talking about it, or you have no money and you're weird about talking about it. Like it's like nobody feels good talking about money.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
I know. It's kind of crazy that it's not taught in our school system.
Right.
Like why do I need to know about geometry? Like, when was the last time I found the area of a triangle?
Exactly.
Like, no time recently, but do I care about compound interest? Do I care about how do you buy a car? The difference between, leasing and buying a car? How does that all add up? And how do you manage a budget? Like, this is all stuff that you need as an adult every day, and they don't teach it. So I know. It's egregious. So I'm really happy to be here and talking about the forbidden subject of money that everybody hates. So try not
that
to
we
turn it
still
down.
need, that everyone hates to talk about, but we all need, and we all have to, like even in business, it's sort of that I'm learning as an entrepreneur, as like a new business owner, you talk so much about the thing, right? And then you just throw in, and then it's going to be this much, right? Or even I was talking to someone recently who's like, if you're not careful, you can start to reduce your price, or like, you start to, because people are so uncomfortable talking about money, you start to talk yourself out of money that somebody might have been happy to give you. You know what I mean?
No, totally.
It's just weird.
Oh.
So anyway, before we jump, I want to jump in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your boys and what you do for work?
Oh yeah, sure. So I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old boy, Max and Miles, and I also am going back to school, as you mentioned. I'm getting my master's in public administration and working at the same time, which is fun and a juggle. And and then so here I am. And my fabulous husband is making a parenting app. It's called Bright Parenting. So he's just launched that, and we're both at home all the time, working from home in each other's hair, but we still like each other. So
I love it. You guys are both like entrepreneurial, right? Like you're like freelance, just like carving your own path kind of thing. Did you set out that way, or what?
No,
oh, you were a teacher for a while.
Yeah, I couldn't have possibly picked the path that am on now 20 years ago. If you'd asked me, I worked in education for a long time, and then I worked for the White House for a long time, but as a freelancer, and, now here I am continuing to work from home. I've started my own business. It's just, it's all over the place, and but it's all the most fun adventures. So,
right.
I'm really happy with how everything turned out, even if I couldn't have planned it that way if I tried.
I know, me too, because you working at the White House is how I got to meet President Obama.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my, it's like one of my top things. So I'm really glad that you were on that path.
Yeah, right? It was really fun.
I know.
A great day.
So how long did you work in the White House?
I worked there for 7 years, from 2010 until the end. So
almost this whole time.
And I did it.
Almost this whole run. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was very, very fortunate. I mean, it was just such an amazing experience. And so I did advance, which is where you travel before the president gets there, and you set up everything, like who he's going to meet, what the stage is going to look like, what the press is going to cover, what shots they're going to get. And so I was part of a team that did that.
Mm-hmm.
It was
And the
really fun.
motorcade, which is what we
That's
were
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. I will never forget that. This is a sidebar, but worth mentioning, where you were like, listen, everything it's a hurry up and wait game. And so we start really early, and then but once it starts, there's no, like, you have to be on, like, what are they called? The Secret Service is not going to let you just, like, go use the bathroom or whatever. And you just have to be ready. When it's go time, it's go time. And literally, it was go time, and your mom was in the bathroom. And I remember the motorcade started, and Anna's, like, 65-year-old mom had to do a running jump into a moving vehicle.
Oh my
in order
God.
to not get left behind. And now shout out to her, because she definitely got in that car.
I know. Who knew?
I would have gotten in there too. I would have
been
been doing flips.
And Anna's husband was driving, so, like, you don't want the Secret Service on your tail, but you also don't want to run over your wife's mother. Like, it's a lot of pressure.
Oh, there was a full family affair, right?
Oh
That
my
is
God, it was
awesome.
amazing. It was amazing. So yeah, and then James also went to use the bathroom before he got his little pin that says who he is. And so when he came out of the bathroom, Secret Service was like, who's this? What are you doing back here? Like,
they were ready to tackle
it
him
was
down.
serious. It was serious, no joke, but also very worth it because we got to meet the president. So, okay, so let's get back. This is one of my favorite stories. Anyway, so let's get back to where we were. So you are here to talk about money, but you're not a money manager. You're not you don't work in the financial industry. How did you get good at this? Like, tell us a little bit about how you started.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. My dad was a stockbroker. And so when I was 12, he thought, you know what, instead of giving Christmas presents, because we're not that festive, I guess, in my house, I'm going to give you $100 of a stock of your choice. And so I, as a 12-year-old, were, picking random things that I liked, like Claire's jewelry.
Nice.
Really into Claire's jewelry.
Who's still around, so.
The stock did actually really well. But so he would give me $100 and I would pick the stock. And then for the next year, we would track it. We would see what news articles came out, why it went up, why it went down. And then the next year he would let me pick another stock and we could decide, did I want to sell that initial stock that I bought and buy a different one, or did I want to keep it? And so every year we did this from when I was 12 until I was 18. And through that, I just kind of got comfortable with money and what is interest rates and, what is, when you put all that money together and it grows, it compounds. It gets to be a lot more than the $100 that you started off when you were 12. So it was just a real lesson in how money works and how you can use it as a tool.
And a real lesson on, like, passive money, right? Because, like, most people at 12, it's like, okay, you can go have a lemonade stand or a paper route. There's like this, the sort of, you go and you work hard, for every dollar is like work so hard for. And I'm sure you had other ways where you were working hard like that, but I am super interested in passive money right now. I don't have any more hours in a day. I don't have any more hours in a day. So I need a way to figure out how to make a little bit of passive money because I don't have any more, like, calluses to give.
Any more and you would probably be, like, just stretched beyond,
right. Yeah, exactly.
Beyond. It's like taking a Twizzler and just it would just snap.
And can you imagine being 12? You're like, I don't need allowance because I got this portfolio. It's doing way better than $5 a week. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, totally. And it made me want to save more because I saw the benefit of saving, right? So, I worked in a deli when I was 14 and I would save all that money and I would add it to the money that my dad would give me.
That's
and
great.
I was making $5 an hour making sandwiches, but, thanks to the free rent of my parents and the, luck in my life, I was able to put that aside and buy more stock with it. And so it really kind of, you got to see it, the benefits of that passive money and
I love
multiply
it.
that sandwich money.
That's great. I love it. I love it. And so so you got started from an early age. I, on the other hand, just learned, I was telling you earlier that James started what he is calling fantasy stocks, right? Okay. And when I tell you, like if you don't start learning about money at a like young age where you're interested in that, like before the fear hits, right? Like as adults, we're afraid of everything. Even if you have a few coins, you're like, I can't risk it, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, let's just try with $200 to see where it goes. And it was 5 or 6 of us in our family. And you would think that he was a random sales dude who knocked on the door. You don't know him and he's asking you for your firstborn. You know what I mean? We're like, I don't know about the stocks. Like Trump is crazy. It's not going to go. It's not going to work. The country's on fire. Like it was so hard, but literally after the first month, like I've read more about stocks and like had an interest in things, looking at it with this lens more in the last 3 months than I have ever. Right.
Yeah.
So how would you recommend that people who might be in this adult stage where you're sort of fearful of things you don't know, how do you get past the fear to learn about this and get into it?
I mean, I love that tool. I feel like when I was in my 20s, I taught an after-school program in Brooklyn with a bunch of 12-year-olds, and it was a financial literacy class. And so what I did was I kind of created your fantasy football version of stocks for them because I wanted to make it interesting. And at the same time, my 25-year-old friends who were also terrified of money and knew nothing were like, oh, could we take that class at the same time? So I had one lesson during the day for the kids, and then I would meet later that night with my friends like at a bar, and would all pick stocks. And so the game that we did, and so this is all fake money so that we didn't have to worry about losing money that we didn't have. But so we all started off with an imaginary $10,000. And you had to pick 3 or 4 stocks that you liked, products that you liked, things that you were interested in, and try to grow that money faster than anybody else's, right? And so whoever had the most money at the end of the 8 weeks won, a Starbucks gift card.
Right.
So what we did was once a week, we would have a check-in and we would talk, okay, well, what happened in the news with all of these stocks? Did it go up? Did it go down? What caused it to go up or down? Was it that they had earnings and they lost a bunch of money? Okay, so you learn what moves a stock. You learn what stocks maybe move faster than others. Like all of the 12-year-olds picked Apple, Google, Nike, McDonald's, and, it was a boom market at the time. So this isn't, applicable all the time.
Right.
But they doubled their money. It was amazing. And all of my 25-year-old friends who were like, I want to diversify. I think I want to have, a nice financial stock and a nice, consumer thing like Gap. And they all, made a healthy 5% or something, but they weren't, they weren't kicking butt like the 12-year-olds. So, but it's interesting to kind of do that and to become familiar with the news stories around the business world, like you were saying. So I recommend tracking it with either fake money or doing such a small amount that if it disappeared tomorrow, you wouldn't miss it. You're not counting on that for rent or anything. Because you don't want to be scared. You don't want to feel like you have to sell it right away. You want to feel like it's more of a learning tool. And then when you become more familiar, adding a little bit more savings as you go,
Yeah. So what we're using Robinhood right now. Have you ever used it? Or?
Yeah. I've heard of it. I haven't used it.
Yeah, so we're using it and it's super simple. It's an app on our phone and we started with $200 and every month we put in $25. So it's real money, but like I spent $15 at Burger King today. Like $25 a month is not breaking me, but it is making me interested and I'm like watching stuff. I don't know all the things. Like I don't know what an S&P is yet, but I know those letters go together. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the S&P is just the it's like a whole group of stocks, right?
It's a group of 500 stocks. And so that's actually a great way to get involved in the market. If you know nothing, if you're like, I don't want to follow this, I don't care about business news, but I don't want to pay someone to manage my money, I would recommend buying the S&P 500 index stock, which is SPY is the symbol for it. Or you can do a Vanguard version, which is VOO, and it just tracks the market. Like whatever the market does, your thing does. And so you can just, I mean, there are studies out that show that almost all financial managers do worse than the S&P 500.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you were to pay someone, they probably wouldn't do better. So if you don't want to pay attention to it, you just want to like set it, forget it. You just buy some S&P 500 stock, add to it as you get more money, and then you don't even have to listen to the rest of this podcast.
But we hope you will.
Interesting.
But we hope you will.
So may I ask a question?
Yeah.
So if you have no experience whatsoever and you want to start dabbing into it, right? Looking into it, is there a service out there that could get you started and pointed in the right direction, rather than like going nuts trying to find information from 20 different, publications or from different areas?
Yeah, I just go to Yahoo Finance. They have like a little tab on the Yahoo thing. It's finance. Some of the articles are garbage, but some of them are good. And they always have like a daily recap of kind of who had earnings come out, and you can put in little stock tickers that you're interested in. So say you have 10 that you're thinking about buying or you want to follow, you can click on them and get all of the top news articles for those stocks. And then you can also put in like kind of pretend that you bought them if you want, or if you actually did buy them, you can track them there, where you put in the ticker, you put in the price that you bought it, and then it shows you the current price and how much it's gone up or down. So you can kind of track things through Yahoo Finance, which I like. It's free, but Robinhood sounds like it's, even better, and you get to gain the actual real money.
Like
so
actual real money, yeah. I think there are a few different apps like that. I don't remember the name of the other one, but there's one that takes. Remember when Bank of America used to take your change? Like if you bought a coffee for $2.32, they would put the leftover. They would round up to 3 and put those extra coins in a savings. There's some app that uses those extra coins for your stocks, right? So it's
I
like
love
a
that.
savings. It transfers like that extra money. I can't remember what it's called, but there are a few apps that are like, the whole app thing makes things so easy. You're on your phone all the time anyway. So I really like Robinhood, but I don't know any other ones. So I don't know if it's the best one.
Now,
but it's super simple, like transferring $10, whatever.
Now, if you're going to go to a broker, or if you're going to go to someone who's going to manage that money or use an app like she does, give me 3 important questions that you should be asking before you start investing with any entity whatsoever. What do you need to look for?
Oh, man. I mean, I honestly don't really like going through brokers because I feel like I do have the skill set. So why pay someone to do something that I can do for free? And I do think that there's anybody could do it. I really do think that if you put in the time and you don't need to pay a broker. I think the thing that they bring to it is that they know the kind of risks that you should take. Gotcha. And the kind of risks that you shouldn't take, right? So they would manage a 30-year-old's money a lot different than a 65-year-old who's about to retire. So for someone like you and me, maybe they would have more stocks and less money in cash sitting on the sidelines because they're like, well, you won't have to sell this for 30 years. Whereas someone who's 65, they might stop working tomorrow and have to live off of that money. They don't want some recession to come and wipe out half of their money, so they would have a lot more sitting on the side in like a money market or some sort of interest rate bearing super safe cash account than they would stocks, and that's something that a financial manager would be more familiar with than just yourself, right? So honestly, I haven't really worked with too many financial managers, so I don't know what questions I would ask them, but
So let me ask you then.
Don't be so scared about it.
What are 3 questions you ask yourself before you make an investment in anything?
Oh, okay. That's well, first, I never make an investment with money that I feel like I'm going to need for anything. So you don't want to feel like, oh, shoot, I need to sell this tomorrow to pay my mortgage payment. And, if the stock is down, I wouldn't want to sell it. I've lost money on it, but I have to sell this now because I need the money. So you don't want to be in that kind of situation. Other than that, I really like to buy stocks that I like the product of. Like like Claire's when I was 13. Like 13-year-olds are geniuses.
Right.
They have like the pulse on the market in a way that like us old people like can't even dream of anymore.
Yeah, this little girl who's selling these bows, these $30 bows, I don't Sewa, Siwa, Jojo Siwa or something. Like 13-year-olds are going to either build or ruin this world.
Right? No, it's crazy, and the same thing with like Apple when I was in my 20s, I mean, so you can just using these products gives you an expertise that you might not think of as being like, oh, I could use this to make money off of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like my first job was at Teach for America, and I had to book a bunch of hotel rooms for interviewers traveling around the country. We used Priceline because we could get deals.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, shoot, like I really like this. Maybe I should buy a few shares of Priceline stock.
That's so smart.
And, it went up a huge amount because it turns out that other people really like Priceline too. So if you're using something and you're kind of like early on and you don't know if people are going to really catch on to it, but you really like it, that's a good product to put, like a little bet on, a little.
Yeah. So in that case, I find that sometimes, at least now in the last couple months that I'm trying to think that way, some of the products that I like they're not public yet. So how do you keep, like, I can't think of anything right now, but
Uber.
Yeah.
Uber's
Yeah.
public, but, no. Like,
how do you get involved? Is there a way to get involved in something before it's public, or do you just put a little
that serious dough? I think that they get more like large hedge fund kind of money. Yeah, I know. Bummer.
That makes sense. So like $250,000 or $1 million or whatever kind of like investments. Yeah.
That's sitting in your bank account. Then you can make.
Then you're beyond this episode anyway.
Yeah, probably not.
So then do you just keep like a little ticker somewhere so that you are reminded to look for those things if they ever do go public, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good idea. No, I read the financial news enough that if there's like a big thing that's about to go public, like the Uber or, Lyft went public a couple months ago, I think. I kind of read about it. But the smaller things, I think it's harder to track.
Mm-hmm. And then when they go public initially, is that when their stock prices are highest, or like
how totally depends. Sometimes they come out and they've been valued at a certain amount and the market's just like, nope, we don't think so. And it drops. And then other times it's the opposite. It comes out kind of lowballed and then people are like, oh my God, this is going to be the next Apple and Google, and it skyrockets up. I feel like the initial IPO can be like really volatile.
Yeah, I think that the same thing happened to Nest. When Nest came out, it was this next gen revolutionary product, and people, when they went public, people started to invest in it, and it had a very, very rocky go, and then Google came and bought it, right? Because Google buys everything, and their stock went up significantly. So those people who were there from the beginning got a really decent bump on their stock price because of the fact that, something that no one knew was going to happen. And so you just never know.
You never know.
I know. If you knew, then everybody would be rich, right?
That's true. That's so true. And then, so that's the story for Nest. But then, like, Apple, right, went through this thing where their stock went down and nobody cared about Apple for a while. And
Steve Jobs,
right? And then it went back up. So you never know.
Patience sometime, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's hard when you put in real money and you're looking at it and you're tracking it and you're seeing it go down more and more every day. And you're like, is this never going to recover? Should I sell now? Like, you just have to really bite your tongue and be like, you know what? I don't need this money right now. Yeah. It's going to be fine. If I give it a year, it'll probably bounce back. And if you had sold Apple when it was down, you'd be sad right now.
Right.
So
very sad.
Because now I can't get in. I don't even know how much it is, but I know it's not $12, which is what I have. So
yeah, I think it's around.
Well, I mean,
$200.
they were the first $1 trillion company in the U.S. And then when they went down, I believe this happened about a year and a half ago. They weren't going to hit their projections in selling iPhones, and I believe they went down like 2%, but it ended up being like $1 billion because they're so huge. So, I mean, it's, when a company like that hits such a high mark and they become one of the highest valued companies in the US or in the world, when they lose a percentage,
I think
it's a
1 is a
massive
lot.
amount of money. And so, people get scared when companies are valued so high like that. And as you said, trying to go in now and buying stock at Apple at the price that they're offering it now wouldn't make any sense, because you would need to see Apple go to the $2 trillion mark in order for you to ever see a profit.
Yeah.
It's
So
hard.
do you agree? I've heard Dave Ramsey say like the market goes up and down all the time, but overall the trend is up, right? So like, so what you said about using money that you don't need is
and just
so
holding
super
them.
important, because you have to have the patience and you have to have the patience and the ability to withstand the lows and the storms.
Yeah, because you'll want to sell. Like your
Right.
gut will be like, oh my God, this has been a terrible decision. I'm losing money. I need to get out. And that's the opposite of what you should actually be doing. You should be actually buying more.
Right. Yeah. You should let everybody else get out.
Yeah,
You
let
should buy
everybody else
theirs.
out. I'm here for the 20% off sale.
Right.
And buy more. Like that's what you should be doing, even though your brain is telling you like, no, run.
Right.
So oftentimes when bad news comes out, I will buy a stock the day or two after bad news comes out,
It's like a 50% off.
I know. Hey, BOGO.
I love it. Okay, so the other thing, the other time that I think about stocks, right? Because I don't think about it, but the other time I think about stocks for like retire, or like this kind of money for retirement. And the only other thing that I know about retirement is a 401k. Can you talk to us about like how, if you have a 401k, or how you see this as either a supplement to a 401k or as an alternative retirement fund, or like an alternative retirement plan?
Yeah. So, me and my husband are both kind of weird. We're both freelancers. We've never really been on the corporate straight and narrow. So, we don't really have 401ks. I hear they're fabulous and that they give matching funds, and you should always, put enough into your 401k to get the matching funds, because it is free money.
Yeah.
So always do that. I unfortunately haven't had that. So this is kind of instead of that, or in addition to that. I think that, especially with life expectancy going up, God willing, you might live 30 years after you retire. And I don't know how much is going to be in your 401k, but they were coming up with those based on people living till they're 75, 80. So I think it's always good to have more. If you can save more, do it. Because it can never hurt. Like, what, are you going to be upset that you're going on an extra vacation when you're 80? Probably not. So,
or that you can help pay school fees for a grandkid, or that you can stay in your house, or you can have an aide come and live with you, or whatever it is that you need, but that you have the money for it.
You won't have to do a GoFundMe for your healthcare expenses. It'll be great.
I have literally started dumping at least 15% of my salary into my 401k, because that is the only thing I will have aside from Social Security, which you probably won't even get to see by the time I get to retirement, and a couple of other investment options that I have here and there. But I'm dumping it because if the company that I work for, if they're willing to match up to 7%.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right? Like, let's just,
it's usually like half of the first three.
It's 3%, I believe, is up to 3% of your contributions that they match. But if they're willing to match that's free money. Yeah. So the more you pump in, it's, it's a no brainer. It's like,
if you can swing it. And I think it's what people are always worried about is like, can I spare that 15%?
But the beauty of it, though, see, here's the thing. When you don't see it, you don't miss it. Right. And when you start, like, let's say, for example, you make that decision. Yeah, I may not have enough. You just start pumping as much as you possibly can now. when you don't see it in your paycheck, you don't miss it. And you start making adjustments in your life to accommodate for that change. You know, and a lot of people need to realize that when you start doing it on your own, like for example, pumping money into a savings account, which I still encourage you should do if you can, you know, you have control of that money, right? And so you see it. It's within your line of sight. So you can just walk right up to the bank and remove, you know, take out $100 for something that you know you didn't need, but you just want to do it anyway.
Right.
That's not the case when you start pumping money into your 401k.
Right.
There are, you know, penalties involved with removing
which are there
money in.
because they know that we can't handle it, right? Like those penalties are there because as a mass, we cannot handle saving that far in advance for something that we need. And then when we need it, then we turn around and we're like, we need help. So, you know, it's like the government's way of parenting a little bit. You know what I mean?
And I say this, you know, please be able to pay your bills. Don't just say, just because I told you, dump 15% into, you know, your 401k because you're not going to miss it. Trust me, when you don't see, you're not going to miss it. You still have to make sure that you have enough money to be able to pay your bills, your mortgage, and to be able to sustain your little ones and everyone at home. But if you're finding yourself having a little bit of extra cash, just bump it up a little bit.
You know,
you don't see it, you don't miss it.
You know, it's another good place. And this is coming from a like not from a place of lack, right? Like if you're already trying to make ends meet, then it's probably difficult. But another place where you can find a little bit of additional money is in your increase. Like if you get an increase from year to year, like a cost of living, or if you get a raise, or if you get promoted and it comes with a raise, if you take that money and instead of using that money as now your regular money, if you think of that as money that you didn't see, you didn't use before, it's like an extra maybe $5,000 for the year that you didn't have before. Like that's a great place to find this money that you weren't used to having and like pumping it into a place like that you didn't see, you didn't have it before.
And it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference because then once you start seeing that sit in there and start working the ups and downs of the market and losing the money and gaining the money, eventually you start seeing it into, you know, work into, you know, oh God, you know, I was 5 years in, I got $100,000 in here, and then it's $200,000, and then
because compound interest is real,
and it's just
real.
Growing, and you're like, whoa, you know, and you look again, and now it's $300,000. You're like, wow.
All right, don't get carried away. This is really
but you know, the other thing you also have to make sure too is just don't lose your mind when the stock market goes down and you find yourself losing like $13,000 or $14,000 or $20,000 in one shot, because, you know, market corrections happen all the time. And therefore, you know, it'll build back up, and just remember that that's going to sit in there for 20, 30 years before you even touch it again. So it's going to have plenty of opportunities to really work itself out.
Yeah. All right. So my last question is, do you do any of those, I think it's called Chet, or any of those kinds of savings plans that are for kids' school? And would you recommend any of those things?
No, tell me about them. That sounds really.
Oh, I don't know anything. I don't know.
The Chet program is a Connecticut program.
Oh,
well, that's the state of Connecticut. I have a little insight on
and there's no federal program like that?
I'm not sure if there is, but I know the state of Connecticut offers what they call a Chet program, and where you can start saving money for your child's education, and it's all tax-free.
Yeah.
And so you pump money into an account, and they're not charging you tax. And then when you go use it for education, you're not being charged taxes on it, as long as the purpose for that money is for college tuition or education-based purposes.
Yeah. No, I think that you should definitely take advantage of that. I mean, similar to like Roth IRAs, like anything that you can prepay the taxes for when you put it in and not have to pay the larger amount of taxes when you take it out is like also free money, right? So
that's a good point.
I would definitely take advantage.
Can we talk about that just one more time? Because it took me a very long time to really understand the difference between a Roth and prepaying taxes and taxes later and blah, 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 blah. So can you just talk about that again, sort of clearly and slowly, so that people understand the benefits of prepaying taxes as opposed to paying later the taxes on the compound interest?
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. So say you put in $10,000 today in a Roth IRA and you had to pay the tax on that, that is going to be, 3% of that $10,000 is a lot less than in 60 years when that has grown to $100,000. 6% of $100,000 is 10 times more. Right. You're paying 1/10 of the taxes today than you would be paying in 30, 40 years when that money has grown.
Who are we kidding? We know taxes are going to go up.
Right. Taxes are going to go up. That's a really great point. And so what happens is that it feels like it's not as much of a savings because in the present moment it feels like you're spending a lot of money, right? If it's $10,000 you're trying to put away and they want $3,000, you're like, well, that's a lot, right? But if you think about it later, like you said, if that money becomes $100,000, now you have to pay 30 or like whatever,
right?
And 30 is way more than 3, So it's an interesting thing in terms of like liquid money or like cash on hand right now. And if I think that's part of why it's so hard for most people to handle money or think about money or talk about money, because it's hard when you don't have money to think that far in advance, and all you can think is, but right now I need this.
Well, one of the other things that you also why you should consider a Roth IRA is because you're paying those taxes up front. You can borrow against your money without penalty, right? Because it's your money. You've already paid your taxes on it. Another thing too that is starting to happen now is that a lot of companies are offering, as part of their 401k package, or the companies that offer 401ks are allowing you to do Roth IRAs in conjunction with your 401ks. So you can start little and work your way up to a bigger amount. And so you won't feel the impact of the taxation, the immediate taxation, as hard or as big as you would if you're dumping $20,000 right away.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So
it's and it's something that I didn't, I don't think I thought as much about when I was working for someone, right? Because you're just like, oh, 401k is what we do. You put in the thing. Oh, this matching money is free money. You just do it. When you're working for yourself, you're like a business owner, or you know what I mean? Or you're a freelancer and you have like a closer, again, it's like parenting, right? If you have a closer hold on that cash, it feels harder to let go of it, even though like you're doing it for your future. If you're not sure about your future, you don't know where you're going to be in 10 years or 30 years or whatever. It is anxiety inducing, and it's harder to force yourself to do it when no one else is making you do it. So there definitely is something to be said about working, like going and working for someone where some of these things are just built in, right?
Yeah.
Their 401ks are the new pensions. Some people still get pensions, but pensions is not really a thing
anymore.
Not very many people. And so 401k is the new thing. And I think growing up in that, we're elder millennials, right? It felt like the only thing that I knew. Like even Roth IRA seemed like a new thing that I wasn't, like you only know about a 401k. So it is definitely worth taking a second to research. Sounds heavy, but like watch a couple YouTube videos. There are lots of people out here talking about things. You can
learn anything on YouTube.
You can learn anything on YouTube. And what I have found lately is that there are a lot of people talking about the same thing in a language that you can understand.
That's right.
So if the language you understand is like high octane Susie Orman, then you tune into Susie Orman. If the language that you understand is like a homegirl from down the street, then you tune into the Budgetnista, right? Like if the language that you understand is, I don't know, is an old white guy, then you call Dave Ramsey and you like check in on him because
plenty to choose from.
You've got plenty to choose from. But just this point that even my show, like it's tuned to a certain ear, and if you feel like you're not understanding something, it's because you're listening in the wrong tune. And so just take a couple seconds to search until you find that tune, that frequency that you understand, and then it will help you, because it's so important for the wealth of your family, for the longevity of your family, for the stability of our families, especially in this time where everything feels so unstable around us. like it's such a like low hanging fruit kind of way to like secure yourself and your family. So.
Yeah. It can never hurt to learn more about this subject,
Right.
right?
So, Anna, I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to me about this and talking to our listeners about this, because I love when we have like our sidebar conversations about this. It makes me feel like I can do it, right? Like that I can do this. And so I just wanted to share that with the people. So thank you.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me. This has been a really fun conversation, and yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, cool. So I wish you every success, because I know you're still in the local political scene in your neighborhood and like the work that you're doing, and you're doing and what is it called, an MPA? What is it?
MPA, yeah,
MPA.
Master's in Public Administration.
So that means that you're like out working for the people and like getting involved in this stuff. That's really important, especially when like shit is hitting the fan. We need really good people with really strong heads on their shoulders who like know how to explain shit, right? So I really appreciate the work that you're doing and the way that you're going about doing it. So keep kicking ass.
Oh, thanks so much, Candace. Bye, guys.
All right. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was Anna. She's fantastic.
Isn't
I love
she?
her. A lot of very good, useful information. And I think that, when it comes to finances, as we mentioned before, it can be very intimidating. Very intimidating to the point where people don't, I just don't want to deal with that, and they find it easier because, she's doing this on her own. But a lot of people would find it easier when they don't want to deal with the logistics of how difficult they think it is. They'll go and say, oh, you do this for me.
Right. You pay someone else.
And you do it. And so, it's like when you really take the time to learn something and you take out the intimidating factor, you have more control over what it is that you're doing and how you can come out on top on your own.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't realize how much power they have and what you can accomplish if you put the energy that you do to Facebook,
right,
to managing your finances,
or anything,
or anything for that matter. Trust me when I tell you, you'll succeed at it.
You will.
It's all a matter of just doing what you need to do.
I know. Okay, so let's switch gears because I want to do the Mom So Hard tip, which is related to this, but I also want to like rage a little bit on some current topics that were happening this week.
All right, let's quickly go through them.
All right, so. Or maybe it's just one. Maybe it's a couple. So the
Who are
first,
you kidding? It's a
I know
couple.
it's always a couple. So the first thing is, so the Notre Dame Cathedral was on fire this week.
That's right.
And like, it's sad, right? But
whole roof burnt down, all that craziness.
But it's still there.
People were up in.
So like part of it burned down.
Yeah.
But like, you'd have thought the Pope was in there when it happened. Like, people were losing their shit over this thing.
I mean, you got to understand that this structure has been standing there for well over 760 years.
I literally do not care.
It's a 13th century Gothic style, amazingly beautiful building. I appreciate architecture, right? I don't like religion. I don't like the religious aspect of the building. Because to me, religion says I'm a sin, especially that Catholicism.
Yeah.
But when you look at structures, for example, when I go down and walked in downtown New Haven and I see all of these amazing, beautiful university dormitories that look like castles and they're so gorgeous and the architecture is just so majestic. If I were to watch one of those burn down, I'd probably have the same reaction as watching this amazing, beautiful structure burn down. But that's just me looking at it from an architectural point of view. As far as people losing it because of what it stands for, yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a lot, and it also feels so like I was worried that I was being callous, but. When it happened, when it first happened and I saw the news, I was like, oh shit, this sucks, right? Like, oh my God, is anybody hurt? Did anybody die? Like,
Nope.
blah, blah, blah.
Nope.
And then the days kept going on. And the next day, some dude pledged $100 million. And then my timeline started to be like all these people posting pictures of when they were at Notre Dame. And when someone was like, the first time I went, I was 11. And the last time I went, it was blah, blah, blah. And of all the places I've visited, this is my favorite. And it just started to really like, and I couldn't put into words why I was feeling some kind of way.
Well,
And
the darn building is burning down and people are making it about them.
yes.
It's like, it's not about you.
It became like really, it became braggy. Like here's the time that I was at Notre Dame. Like,
let me
here's the
post
time
this
that
before the damn building falls
Right.
down and we don't even know what it looks like, right?
Yes. And then it also comes on the back, like every day things are happening to people, brown people, black people,
That's right.
gay people, immigrants, migrants, like things are happening to actual people. And yeah, there are a few
We have
Facebook
famine
posts about
in
it.
countries on this earth.
They're countries underwater right now that
Yeah.
shouldn't be.
Flint
They're-
still does not
They're
have
local places.
drinking water,
drinking
for
water.
God's sake.
There are children here
Yeah.
that we don't know how we're going to reconnect them with their families, that we're taking, I mean, infants, babies who should still be suckling or like drinking formula taken from their parents. Like there are actual things that are affecting actual human people.
Not to mention the countless, and I say countless, and countless meaning like well over 100 churches that have been burnt down over the past, I would
60
say,
years?
260 years.
200 the whole
right?
time.
We had a church that was blown up with 3 beautiful young girls
Children,
in it. And we've had a church that burnt down not too long ago.
And in Louisiana, just, I don't know, last year or whenever that happened. And
we had a mosque
and then
the very next day. Oh, wait, was it the same day or the next day?
you mean this week?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think it was like within hours of the.
But it's a mosque,
Correct.
right? And nobody cares about mosques.
Silence.
Nothing. Some little blip on the bottom, like a ticker on the bottom. And then I mean, Standing Rock, right?
Yeah,
like
that's right.
My friend Jaylene, who's Danae, who was on the show, she posted this beautiful post about like understand like. She said something like, I see it as a building and I appreciate it for its architectural history, right? But if you see it as a place of cultural significance, then I understand how you feel this way and I wish that I didn't, right? She said it much more eloquently than that. But when I saw that, I was even more enraged, right? Here are Native American people, indigenous people who are constantly every day reminded of the things that were taken away from them or and that they have to be gracious and show empathy in this moment for people who don't show them even remotely the same kind of empathy or compassion
that's
or
the
any
thing.
of that.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
But
they're expected to.
They're expected to. The
But you
oppressed
don't have
people
to.
are always expected to forgive and forget and be empathetic and compassionate and blah, 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 blah. And I was just sick of it. I was over and done with it. I couldn't spare a single tear or a single sad word. I could not.
I posted a picture on Facebook of the church burning, and one of Daenerys's dragons was blowing the fire on the roof, and one of my friends lost it. It was like way too soon, and I'm like, no, it's not really.
Relax.
Like, my thing is, one of the good things that came out of this, and we were talking about this off air, was that a lot of the black churches that have seen that were burned down in recent months and years are seeing donations spike.
And I will take guilty money any day. Yes, you should
will,
feel
because
bad.
it took a white man like emergency that's really not an emergency. Like, just
did anybody die? Relax.
It took a white issue to bring light to the fact that our places of worship are being burnt, and they need the money to rebuild these places before any brown people or any other minority group started seeing money being raised for them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like you said, we'll take guilty money any day.
Any day I will take it. I will take it.
I was just like, wow.
So yeah, I wasn't very I wasn't very sad, or I couldn't even find any empathy for for Notre Dame. And at the beginning, I felt bad about feeling that way, and by today, I feel no kind of way. I feel no regret for the way that I feel. And I know that someone will say, well, if racist people felt that way, then it would be bad. And I'm just like, I'm not even going down that lane,
but
because
they don't understand.
that's what gaslighting is.
Yeah.
And I don't have time for you. So
Yeah.
move on. So anyway, that's the biggest thing, like probably literally and figuratively the biggest thing that's happened this week. The other like smaller thing that I just wanted to mention is some really great like Black things that I've seen on TV this week. So the first thing I watched this week, no, actually 3 amazing things that I watched this week.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 is Guava Island on Amazon Prime.
Haven't seen
Have
it.
you seen it? Okay,
No.
so it is a movie. It's short though. It's like 55 minutes, so it's short. So it's a fast watch if you want to watch it. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at you. I'm supposed to be looking at you.
No, you can look at both of us.
Look at
Just
both
don't
of them.
forget to engage, because we are live.
Okay. So Guava Island is on Amazon Prime, and it's Rihanna and Donald Glover.
Stop it.
And I'm
Rihanna.
obsessed with it, okay?
I loved her in Ocean's 8.
Yes, and she's just amazing. And it's thick Rihanna, who's like doesn't care about anything and is sassy as ever. Like, I'm obsessed with it. And it's basically a musical. I'm sure they might call it something else. It kind of
It's a Rihanna goal.
It's a Rihanna. No. It's a Donald Glover musical. I don't
Rihanna's
even think
in it. It's all about Rihanna.
Yes, but she doesn't sing. Anyway, it's excuse me. It's amazing, and it's taking place on an island. Could be St. Lucia, St. Thomas, St. Kitts. It could be any little island, and it's a story of an island that was like paradise, and then now it's being occupied by like a dude who's basically a dictator of the island, and the people are trying to like take back a something, right? And the thing that they want is like a day of rest. Like, they don't want to work 7 days a week. They would like to rest on one day. And that's the crux of the story. But it's just, I mean, all the imagery is really cool. Like just the way that they shoot it, the like the filter that's on it is really cool. You feel like if you've ever traveled to a Caribbean place, it feels like there's a filter over your eyes, like because
everything is just so pretty and green.
Yeah, well, everything is pretty and green, but it's also like hot and humid.
Yeah,
and it just like it looks the way it looks, right? And I just thought visually, and the sound and the music, all of it was just. And there's a bit at the beginning, it's almost 10 minutes long, that's animated, which is also incredible. So if you have a chance to check out Guava Island, please do check out Guava Island, Donald Glover and Rihanna. The second thing that I saw this week that was amazing is Native Son, which is a retelling of Native Son, the story, who I can't remember who wrote it right now, but it's on HBO. And the guy who plays the lead looks a lot like the teenage kid from Moonlight. So you know how Moonlight was a little boy, then a teenage boy, and then like an older kid? It really looks like the middle kid. And I didn't do any research to find out if it is, but I think it is him. Anyway, I don't think that I read Native Son. I think I read Invisible Man, and I was confusing the two. But if you've read Native Son, or if you're interested, either way, this movie is incredible. And because I hadn't read the story, I didn't know where it was going. And so when the like thing happens, I was not prepared for it. But it was a very cool.
I appreciate how she's not trying to like spoil
I'm
it
not
for
trying
anybody,
to. I'm
right?
not trying to spoil it because it's crazy.
The thing
that happened.
I love it.
But I really like that it was. So the first one, the Guava Island, is like a Caribbean paradise story, right? And then Native Son is like current day, and they're in Chicago, and the lead is this black kid, but he's like a hipster black kid, or he's like a off the beaten path kind of black kid. He's got like black nail polish on, his hair is bright green, he listens to like heavy metal music. So it's not the trope of the hip hop dude that gets caught up.
So he's like a Jimi Hendrix of today.
Exactly.
Something so oddball and different that you normally wouldn't see.
Exactly.
So a young black man.
Exactly. And the story is that he gets this opportunity to go, like an opportunity to go and work for this rich white guy, and how that puts him in this new, like, gives him access to something else.
Yeah.
And so that is a story that we've seen so many times before. And when I finished watching that movie, I was just like, so is the lesson here to stay in your lane, or like to be super careful if you get out of your lane? I'm not sure. But when the movie ended, I couldn't breathe. Like I felt like real anxiety, real excitement for this kind of story, for this kind of imagery of a young black man. You know what I mean? That, again, is not a dude selling drugs on a corner in Chicago. You know what I mean? Like, it was
it's something different. I mean, it's so oddball to see, a young black man in this manner.
Right.
It's like seeing a black person go to be goth and go to like a goth night.
Right. And he was goth. He's got like a spiked collar.
So it's like so out of the element.
Out of
right?
it's out of the quote unquote norm, because they're like that. Why I'm thinking about this week, and the fact that I've seen these disparate, like, visions of black people is so important to me, and I think is so important to all of us, because black people are not a monolith. It's not just one kind of black person.
There's so many.
And we have to keep screaming that so many times, because there's only ever one vision of us in public or on TV or whatever. Like, we don't have the luxury of having friends and a Honey Boo Boo and you know what I mean? Like, we don't have the luxury of having all of those things.
Or being different characters. Like,
exactly.
You're either casted as a drug dealer, you're the drug,
or the
druggie,
like, quirky best friend.
Or if you're a Latina, you're a maid.
Sassy, or you're sassy.
Or you're sassy or boisterous. Or
exactly. So I am really appreciating these, like, different visions of what black people are, and I used air quotes earlier because it's not a made up vision of what a black kid is. Like, there are lots of black kids who look and act like that, but they don't get to see themselves on TV, and so they almost get erased.
People don't see that either. It's almost like they get ignored.
They get erased. They get ignored. They're black skaters. They're black opera singers. They're black gangsters. They're black, like, housewives. They're, you know what I mean? They're black high-powered people. Like, we're in all of the categories. Like, we do everything. We are everywhere.
And
but
then
the representation
Denzel.
Is not.
And then there's Denzel.
I mean, he's his own character,
Denzel's
own category.
Oh my God!
But he also has played all of those
ever
things
since I was born. Oh.
Okay, so that was Native Son, which is on HBO. If you can, even if you have to borrow someone's password, like, check out Native Son.
HBO Go.
And then the third thing that you just can't deny if you're breathing right now is Homecoming, which is Beyonce, that came out on Netflix yesterday.
Right. I watched it yesterday.
You did?
I did.
As soon as the kids went upstairs with James, I didn't even know it was coming. I knew it was coming out. I didn't know it was yesterday.
I had no idea it was coming out, and the Beehive did not even make a big stink about it.
Well, I knew it was coming out. I heard about it. There was like one flat, like, the Beehive knew it was happening. They didn't know when it was happening.
Gotcha.
So I didn't know yesterday was the day. So it was a pleasant surprise, and I wasn't planning to watch it at all. And James said, "Oh, the new Beyonce thing is out. The documentary's out. You should watch it." And I thought, "Oh, I'll watch a few minutes and then I'll go to bed, or I'll do whatever."
Who the hell are you kidding? I was hooked.
2 hours and 17 minutes.
Okay, first of all, Blue Ivy dancing and doing her thing and trying to act like the dancers, and she was killing it.
And then singing the Black National Anthem at the end.
And
oh my God.
Then you get to see the twins.
Yes,
the twins were absolutely
cute.
gorgeous. But, it just goes to show you how much work goes into producing something like this. And all of the entire film was based around her performance that she wanted to do for Coachella. Right.
And so what I didn't understand was, did she do 2 performances for Coachella?
Yeah, because it kept flipping from yellow to pink. And
exactly.
I'm like, am I seeing a special effect taking
no,
hold
I think it was
my eyes?
2 different nights.
Yeah, because then I realized she had one she had a ponytail and one she didn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, she's fucking with us.
Right.
But, but it's B and she can get away with it.
Yeah,
so,
but again, like, Black culture,
Yeah.
I should say a part of Black culture on full display. And I don't remember, I think Coachella just happened. So this was from a full year ago.
Correct.
And I do remember when I watched it on YouTube or whatever, however I watched it, I remember being excited about it. And I do remember people being really excited about stepping and HBCUs and all kinds of stuff. Like, it was a moment. So one, Beyonce was the first black female headliner of Coachella. And then for her to take that stage, that opportunity of
she opened the doors for so many.
No, but really like all white eyes on me, right? And to, instead of trying to fix her show, which we wouldn't expect her to, right? Because she's Beyonce, she doesn't have to do that.
But instead of whitewashing
her show to like fit the idea of Coachella, she was like, "Oh, you guys are all gonna watch me, and I'm gonna show you what Black people can do when you're like what we do, whether you're around or not." Right.
One of the other things that she did, if I'm understanding this correctly too, was that a lot of the musicians that were selected, all band members from all of these amazing colleges all over, even a college that she wanted to attend but couldn't because she was with Destiny's Child at the time, and then her dancers. It was just absolutely
I mean, it was incredible. And I didn't even go to an HBCU, but my college had we had a step team, and I swear to God, I remember when I visited that weekend. My school is not an HBCU, it's a white university, but they have a weekend that they focus on kids of color. We call it Black Weekend, but it's called like multicultural whatever weekend. And all the Black organizations on campus, they come and they show out, right? So we had the boy steppers who were all oiled up. We had the girl a cappella groups and the guys and it was fly, right? And that was the only time that I visited the school. And I was like, yes, I'm totally going to Tufts. I didn't know that when I got back there, it would only be like the 15 of us or whatever. Like, I didn't know, because that weekend everything was condensed, that's not actually what school there was like, but it was enough. I was like, okay, I'm in, sign me up. Where's the paperwork? I'm going to be there. It was very cool. So even at a white university, to have that kind of group community culture is such a big deal. And maybe so, even more so in a place where, and my year, I think the year that I was there was the largest, Black and brown group of kids that went into Tufts in 1 year. Yeah. So the 05 class of Black and brown kids is humongous, given that schools are 10% kids of color. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, I was looking at the drum line, it's just dudes with a snare drum, but the amount of attitude and swag,
energy
and just it's just those faces that they make. It's just,
and she made
it just gets into your soul,
right? When they started rehearsing, she was literally 3 months. Just 3 months shy of giving birth to
thick
the twins.
Beyonce, hashtag thick Beyonce.
And she was moving and she could not.
She couldn't keep up.
She couldn't keep up. Yeah. She was losing her breath. She had to build that stamina back up. And but by, they kept saying 60 days away, 90 days away, 60 days away, 40 days away. And every single time they went back to those tryouts and to the practices, you could see her
getting better and better. Yeah. So James is always trying to trick me into getting inspiration and stuff, but I was totally inspired. I mean, Beyonce is inspiring, but this show,
Beyonce's out of this world.
She really is.
I don't think there's any entertainer on this earth that could do what that woman does on stage and be able to sing live.
Right.
Like some of these other, crazy people who I absolutely loved at one point in time, who I don't love anymore, like Madonna, for example. She just released a new song, and the gay world went bananas. I'm like, why?
I don't care.
Yeah.
Let's go
Thank
back to
you.
Beyonce.
Back to B. No, but there was so much happened. So much happened. In the
Yeah,
past.
I really appreciated it. I appreciate this homecoming
Mhm.
and like that show that she put on and how she put Black culture, this piece of Black culture on such a big stage without compromise and just insisting over and over again, like, it's not gritty enough, it's not swag enough, it's not like thick enough, like it's not any of those things. So until it gets there, it's not ready.
Yeah.
And when it's ready, then people will be talking about it for a long time.
And when she started singing the song and where she got that Becky with the good hair, is that
Yeah.
the one? Oh my God, the crowd lost it. And she was just like, nah.
Right? They don't
She's
love you
like-
like I love you.
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh Lord, I lost it. I was like, yeah, this is, and she did an homage to, of course, her time with Destiny's Child.
Yeah, that
She
was
sang
really
a couple
good.
of songs. She switched up Me, Myself, and I, right? Because she was singing it more with like a little reggae beat behind it, and she was like, "Me, myself, and I."
Yeah. It was
And then
really good.
it was so different, and I was just like, "Yes, this bitch, she got it."
She's
She's taking
what she's doing.
her usual stuff and just switching it up for you. And
Mhm.
she did something completely different.
I loved
She
every minute of
served
it.
you all that honey that she's been cultivating in that beehive,
I love it.
like
I love
on
it.
a dish.
And I love the clips of people in the audience like losing their shit.
Yes.
Like just like she would just make eye contact with somebody and they would just fall out.
When she first came out in the stairs, right? She comes up and
Mhm.
she's in the bleachers and she comes up. I swear there was this one girl on the stage like,
Yeah, she couldn't even handle it. She couldn't. It was amazing.
she was stuck like that for like 25 seconds. I was like, what is wrong with this girl?
was
I think she
great.
just had a heart attack and
she's
got
stuck.
She got paralyzed and she
Yes.
can't move. But I was just like, holy shit.
Locked-in
And
syndrome.
all she did was just show up.
Right.
She had not even started doing anything yet.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So if you are looking for a nice, heavy, thick, not heavy in a weighty way, right? But
No,
well,
heavy-
but in a
yeah.
weighty way. If you're looking for a nice dose of like awesome blackness, there are several things on streaming right now, but these three things are my top for this, definitely this week of like where I got my whole shit together, just like enjoying all of it.
And if you want to go back to an old classic, which is not really an old classic, but if you would just want to go to a nice classic, all black female cast movie that picks you up and makes you feel amazing, and it's absolutely hilarious, just go watch Girls Trip all over again.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, Tiffany Haddish and freaking Queen Latifah. Who else was in there?
Regina Hall.
Regina Hall
Mhm.
and
Yeah, it was.
Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yeah,
She's the one
four
that
of them.
peed.
Yeah, she's the one
She was
that peed.
peeing from
Yeah.
while she was hanging.
Oh, and then speaking of Regina Hall, I didn't get to see it yet, but Lincoln went to see it. Is Little is out, which is Marcy Martin from Blackish, the
That's right.
little sister, the twin, and Issa Rae and Regina Hall, and I heard it was really, really good.
Her getting that beat down by the car and the
Oh
cop.
my God, I haven't seen it yet,
Oh Lord!
but I've
I'm
heard
dying.
really good things. And
Well, I saw the previews because we had talked about it here. Was it when we were having a conversation with Cinema Therapy?
probably
Okay.
makes sense. I
Which,
don't
by the way, Cinema Therapy is now also streaming on Digital Stream Radio. So they're
Mhm.
one of our sister shows. Make sure that you check them out. They're amazing.
Yeah, and I'm
And-
actually going to be on Cinema Therapy in May, maybe the
Nice.
end of May. So we'll
Nice.
make sure to post that here when it goes live. I have some things to watch because they're watching stuff that I haven't seen yet. But anyway, so that go and see Little if you haven't yet, because I've heard it's really great. And if you're looking for something to watch this weekend, check out either Guava Island on Prime, Native Son on HBO, or Homecoming on Netflix. And then let's just close out with our hashtag Mom So Hard of the week, Mom So Hard tip of the week, which is related back to, probably should have done it closer to when we were talking to Anna, but is to find a way to outsource things that either drain you or are like not the best use of your time given how you value your time, right? So one of the things that I've talked about like several times is that we got a woman who cleans our house every other week. And it matches, like it fits in my budget now. Like I make it fit into the budget because I just can't, like I can't handle it. But I was listening to the Money Maven, Patrice Washington, and they were talking about like, especially if you are an entrepreneur, or if you're running your own business, or even if you are working, like you're a business person, right? You're working for someone, but you are very busy in that work, that if you are doing stuff like cleaning your house or going and spending 2 hours in the supermarket when you could be Instacarting it for $8, like an $8 delivery, or having someone clean your house if you can find someone who can do it within your budget, or if you can have someone help you with your taxes, like tax season just ended. Like I stressed out a lot over the last couple months, just being scared and not knowing about taxes. This is the first time I'm doing it for my business. Like just wasted a whole lot of time that I could have spent either with my family properly, or like prospecting for my business, or doing something that was going to make me more money in my business, which would give me the money to pay for someone to do the taxes. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
So just on the Money Mavens show, they were talking a lot about figuring out what your hourly worth is, or like your hourly wage, and think about the things that are draining you and keeping you from doing the work that you need to do, whatever that work is, whether it's business related, work related, parenting related, and see if you can make those things match up, so that if you don't spend 2 hours in the supermarket and you instead spend those 2 hours on your business, will you make the money to pay for Instacart? You know what I mean? And more. Or will you make the money to pay for the person to clean your house if you spend those like 6 hours a week, or whatever the amount of time is that you spend cleaning your house? Like, can you make more money in that time if you're not doing this thing, and instead outsource it, get it off your mind, get it done within your budget, whatever your budget is. And I think that sometimes, maybe even I thought originally, oh, it's easy to say that if you have money, or if you like have a lot of money, or if you know what I mean? Like it feels like coming from a place of privilege.
But if it's important to you, you find a way to make the money.
Exactly.
For it.
Again,
yeah.
I told you, I spend $15 at Burger King today. Like there is money that you can move from things that you shouldn't be doing and put it towards things that will work for you. That is exactly what it is. Put it towards things that are going to work for you. So that's the tip this week, is to look through the things, like catalog the things that you need to get done, and figure out which one of those things you either don't like doing, don't want to do, aren't good at, or whatever, and find a way to outsource them. So that's all I have for you this week. If you love the show, please like, share, and subscribe, all of the things. That's how we get out. That's how people find us. And
rate us, and like us, and comment.
All of those things.
All those good stuff.
All of those things. And then come back, because we're going to be here every week. That's it for now. Bye.
This show is produced by Tom Ortiz at Digital Stream Radio. It's available for download on Podbean. Follow us at Facebook at Breezy Moms Podcast, or email us at breezymomspodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, don't stress, just breathe.